So hello everyone, my name is John Rashedian, and in this video I would like to show you, I don't know what that is. Okay, I would like to show you how a while loop in JavaScript works. So I'm kind of I kind of think you know already about loops. If you don't, loops are basically a way to, in programming, to do iterations. For example, you have a block of code and you want that block of code to be executed or run for a specified number of times, or for a specified number of for a specified I mean, as long as the condition is true. And when the condition is not true anymore, then you want the execution of code to be stopped. So that's loops do. And then there are different kinds of loops. They're used in different situations. There is this while loop, which is a simple kind of loop, and it's basically like this. As long as the condition is true, the loop loops through the block of code, and then as soon as the condition is not true anymore, then the loop stops, and so the execution of code stops. So now let's do a simple while loop to see how that works. I'm going to create a new HTML document and call it example3.html. I will figure out some way to give you the source code for these little programs that we write here as well. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'll figure something out. So now this is a simple HTML page, and what I want to do is I want to create a button on a page. When the user clicks the button, a function is called and the function is run, and then inside that function you have a loop that loops through a block of code, and then you have some output, and then the output is shown on your website. So that's what we want to do. In order to do that, you can, for example, you can basically write some explanation, some text for the page. For example, JavaScript while loop, and let's write down what this program does. For example, in this program, you click the button below, and then a while loop loops through a block of code as long as the condition is true. So that's what we want to do here. So basically, first we need a button, and the button I'm gonna write here click, and the button is supposed to call the function that we're going to write later. So I'm going to here write onClick is equal to the name of the function. So I'm going to call the function counter, and so that's basically the whole button. And then you need you need some way to output the output of the program. So in order to do that, it has to be shown in some way on the website. So I'm going to choose a P, and then inside the P I'm going to write, I'm going to give it an ID so that I can have access to it later through the the script. So I'm going to give it the ID output. Next, you need to write your program, your script. So in order to write a script, you basically know that you start your script with script. This is script tag in HTML, and you need to end your script with /script, and you write your script between these two tags. And now we need to create a function that's called when the user clicks this button. So the function is called counter. So I'm going to create a function here. So function counter, and this is what the function does. I'm going to, in order to output the output of this function, I'm going to need a variable. I'm going to call it text, and I'm going to initiate that with some value, with an empty string, and then I'm going to need a number. I'm going to tell you in a minute what I need the number for. So I'm going to create a variable called I, and initiate that with a value 0. And then you can use a while loop. You simply write while, and then here in parentheses comes the condition. If the condition is true, the while loop loops through the block of code that's inside these curly braces here, right here. If the condition is not true, then the execution code of the code that you write, the block of code that you write here, is simply stopped. So now the condition is while I is less than 10, for example, do this. Basically, text is equal to, text is the variable that we created here, so text is equal to text plus, this is a way that you can concatenate strings in JavaScript with other things. So text plus, and you want to give them some information. For example, the value of the counter, I keep making mistakes, the value of the counter is, and then after is should the value of the counter should actually come. So plus, and the value of the counter is basically the value of I. So I'm just simply going to write I, and this is for example, if the while loop loops once, it goes through this code and executes the code. So for the second run, it goes through the same code, but the value of I is going to be changed. But I want I want the output of the program to be written in separate lines. So I want to basically create a line break each time the code is executed. So I'm going to create a simple break BR HTML tag here, and so we're done here. Oh, 9 minutes. Okay, so we're done here, and now let's suppose that the loop runs for the first time, goes through the code, and for the second run you need to actually increment the value of I by 1, so that when, for example, I starts here with 0, and then for the second time the value is 1, the third time is 2, the fourth time is 3, and so on. So basically you write I++, which means I is equal to I plus 1. It means whatever the value of I is, increment that by 1, and then so the value of I is incremented by 1. So that's basically the whole thing. And now you have to output the output of the program. So in JavaScript you do it like this. For example, if you were to output anything in this P that we've written up here, you need to have access to the P. So you need to write document that get element by ID, and then you write the ID of that element, which is output in case of this P, and then you need to write dot inner HTML is equal to you want to put this text, this variable text, whatever the value is in this P. So you simply write text and you save this, and if you run the code, you can see that you have the button that you created here. So this is the button here. Oops. And now if you click this, the program text is this counter function counter where I is equal to 0 less than 10, text is equal to text plus the value of this is the value of I, and then I plus plus document that get element by ID output. Oh, we have made a mistake here. You see I made a mistake here. So output, and save it, and now refresh the page and click, and you can see that the value of the counter is 0, the value of the counter is 1, 2, 3, and so on. So if you understand basically how this whole thing, how this while loop and how the whole system works together, then you can use this in many ways in your programs. And so that's basically the basic of the basic of programming. So I hope you liked this video and enjoyed it. I will see you in the next video. So until the next JavaScript chat session, bye for now.